Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the West Lindsey series. This is one of the 9 districts of Lincolnshire and one of the county's most rural. It has 128 civil parishes. Let's see which one this episode's all about. Welcome back to West Lindsey, everybody. We are 2 from the finish, and the 2 that remain are probably the 2 I know the best, apart from Saxilby with Ingleby. I'm so excited to be here. This is surreal to be back in this place. I used to work in this village. I spent 8 months at the pizza house right over there on the parade, which you'll find in the centre of Cherry Willingham. The West Lindsey series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop, located at 20 Ropery Road or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. And this video is also sponsored by Jamie's Fitness Studio, based on Low Road, Grayingham, near Curtin in Lindsey. Jamie is one busy lady. Check her out by calling 07906 749 574 or emailing hello@jamies.co.uk. Online membership is available. There's a link to her Facebook page in the description. Jamie's Fitness Studio. Get fit, get happy, get healthy. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. With just 2 left to visit in West Lindsey, we now come to Cherry Willingham, the largest one that remains and one of Lincoln's most residential satellite villages. Often known to the locals just as Cherry as opposed to its more formal name, Cherry Willingham lies 4 miles outside the Lincoln city boundary, with only the tiny Greetwell village separating it from the brand new Lincoln Eastern Bypass. Cherry Willingham is built on the northern acclivity of the Vale of Witham. Its name literally means Homestead of the Willas people, where the cherries grow. Much like nearby Nettleham, Cherry is twinned with a French village, in this case Le Grand Luce. The village is spread outwards from an original settlement which began behind the current church. Iron Age remains have been found there in the past. Now very residential, Cherry is a great little commuter village, and it's still growing. Running through the modern village is a railway line, the Lincoln to Grimsby line, which we've seen countless times throughout the district. The village can be split into 3 distinct areas, the 2 main ones being directly north and south of the railway line. The third area is known as Hawthorne, a small hamlet which used to be on the main road between Witham and Lincoln, now cut off from the city by the Eastern Bypass. So let's have a walk around it, and you can bet as a local I enjoyed every single step. Our route begins right in the centre of the village at the parade, which has most of Cherry's amenities, like the local library for example. As the centre of the community, there's no surprise this thing is here. Tick off Cherry Willingham, folks, there's only one left now. The parade is the location of the village surgery, which works in partnership with the one we saw on Lodge Lane in Nettleham. The Wishing Well is one of Cherry's 2 pubs. Purpose-built in the 1980s along with the rest of the parade, this used to be called the Beck Arms. Here's something new. Since I frequented these parts on the regular, a brand new history and heritage board has appeared on the parade. This also serves as one of the village's war memorials. It was added in 2016 and the back of the board explains the memorial's history. The parade's shops include a co-op store, a hair salon, the Ocean Fish Bar, and of course Cherry Pizza House, one of my former employers. If you need to catch a bus, the parade is the place to do so. Cherry is served primarily by the number 3 between Fiskerton and Lincoln. Despite there being a railway line in the village, Cherry has never had a station. The closest one it's ever had was at Witham, now gone. In 2014, this level crossing was the scene of a horrific accident involving a freight train and 2 local pensioners, one of whom was a former postmaster. You know, right now I've got the same feeling as I had making the Witham episode. It's just brilliant to be back here. I'm so happy. I don't even need the map. I've planned a route like normal, but I don't even need to look at it because I know where I'm going. It's just, oh man, it's great to be back here. It really is. I'm going to shut up about that now, about my personal experiences, just like I did in Witham, because I don't want it to be all about me. I need to tell you about the village if you're not familiar with it. Basically, there are 3 sections to Cherry Willingham. You've got the part which is to the south of the railway line, you've got the part to the north of the railway line, and then you've got an area called Hawthorne. I'll be driving around that bit at the end of this episode. Here we're at the north of the railway line. This is Minster Drive. This is very residential, so we're going to walk around this. There's a park to see and a school as well, and then we'll head back across the railway line to the southern section. The north of the village is greatly residential, but the same can also be said for the south. This is the Minster Drive estate. Apart from Minster Drive itself, all the roads on this estate are named after saints, like Simon, Matthew, Luke and Peter for example. A mixture of both 2-storey houses and bungalows, it's a peaceful part of the village, far enough away from the bustling centre. On St Paul's Avenue there's a small playground. This is by no means the only one in Cherry, as we'll see later around this route. Minster Drive is connected to Hawthorne Road via a footpath which passes the local Scout and Guide headquarters. It emerges at the village hall, and you'll recognise this from the Witham episode. Right on the parish boundary, it's shared by the 2 villages. Now to head along Hawthorne Road, which at one time connected Cherry and Witham to Lincoln. These days, that's not the case. Okay, so we're back to Croft Lane now, and behind me you can see a school. Now in my day, that was Cherry Comprehensive School. It's not anymore, it's got a different name. One that's changed since I lived around here. So, what's it called now, you ask? The former Cherry Comprehensive School is now known as Priory Pembroke Academy. It changed its name in 2017. It began life in 1965 as Cherry Willingham Secondary Modern School. It was built to replace an old secondary school in neighbouring Fiskerton. As a local, one thing I recall with ease about this was a major fire in 2010, the cause of which was never accurately identified. The gym next door works in partnership with the school. Pembroke has a football centre too, named after former Lincoln City manager Keith Alexander. The field beyond is all part of the school as well. In fact, the old school signs can still be seen on the edge of this football pitch. On the other side of the road we then come to 3 care homes, all in a line next to each other. First up is Willow Court. The other 2 are both run by Anchor. This is East Croft, which has 18 2-bedroom flats and 5 purpose-built 2-bedroom bungalows. And following those 2, you have a third one. This is Le Grand Luce Court. And if you think that sounds a bit French, well, you'd be spot on, because Le Grand Luce is Cherry Willingham's French twin. Also sporting the name of Cherry's French twin is Le Grand Luce Garden, a quiet corner of the green in front of the parade. Much like the memorial we passed earlier, these soldiers are also new as well, although these were added earlier this year. The road then bends to the west before becoming the High Street. The house in shot here was once a post office, but it's now closed. A left turn immediately after that brings us onto Church Lane, which runs downhill to meet Fiskerton Road. Let's go to the church. Dedicated to St Peter and St Paul, Cherry's church is built of high quality Ancaster limestone and stands on a commanding mound. At the foot of this mound is a spring line, the water from which was apparently once famous for healing eyesight. Although not huge, this church is Grade 1 listed and a wonderful example of Georgian architecture. It was built in 1753. Inside, it features a modern octagonal lantern which was designed by Louis Osman. He also designed the coronet for the Prince of Wales. The church's founder was Thomas Beck, who decided to rebuild the church after acquiring an estate in Cherry Willingham. He's remembered not only by the former name of the Wishingwell pub, but also Beck Close, a cul-de-sac close to this building, the old vicarage. Okay, so we've reached Newstead Avenue and we're now going to be heading for the second of Cherry's two pubs. We've seen the Wishingwell, and a bit further down the road over there is the Cherry Tree. Ideal name, isn't it? The Cherry Tree is an archetypal 1960s estate pub which backs onto the village sports ground. This offers a carvery 2 days a week. There's an old row of shops here too, although most are no longer businesses. Only the Bay Leaf Chinese takeaway remains now. So now we need to cross the sports ground. Cherry's playing field sits right in the centre of the village and has at least 2 access points. It's got a big playground, a couple of football pitches and a large raised bowling green, seen in the distance here. Cricket is also played here by Cherry Willingham Cricket Club, who were founded in 1962. They play in the Lincoln and District Cricket League. After crossing the playing field, we're now on Fern Grove, one of the streets that make up an estate known as the Trees. We can use this to get to the High Street via a small alleyway at the end of the road. This emerges at the Church Hall. This was built in the 19th century and was originally the village school. When it closed, children were then sent to Fiskerton or Witham. A few steps away is the parish office. Now known as the Millennium Hall, this was originally a Wesleyan Methodist chapel. Okay, so we're going to continue down the High Street. It eventually becomes Waterford Lane, and it's a long old walk from where I'm standing right now to the main road, the one between Greetwell and Fiskerton. If I see anything of interest, I will of course capture it, but if not, I'll see you in the estate that's to the south of these houses right here. Waterford Lane has some of the newest houses in Cherry. Knowing there's not much more of note beyond these, I opted to shortcut my planned route. Now we're on Elm Avenue heading south. All the streets in this area are named after a type of tree, hence its nickname, the Trees Estate. On Lime Grove we come to Cherry's Primary Academy, also part of the Priory Group. This was built with this estate in the 1960s. Upon opening, Cherry's displaced children no longer had to travel to Fiskerton or Witham for a school. It's been that way ever since. The 1960s were a period of massive change for the village. As you can imagine, the Trees estate vastly increased the population. It's been growing ever since. It's hard to imagine back in 1801, Cherry was just 16 houses, all clustered around the church. We've now hit Fiskerton Road, the main road bypassing the village to the south, which links Fiskerton and Greetwell together. The biggest landmark along here is a triangle of land, a second village green if you will, where the road splits into 2 directions. So when I lived in Fiskerton all those years ago, this green was what told me I was nearly home. because this is the sort of last major landmark before the village itself. Fiskerton is in that direction where that car's just going, and then in this direction you've got Cherry. He'll turn left probably there to go up to the parade or wherever he's going to get into Cherry village centre. We're heading this way towards Fiskerton because our last street is Lady Mere's Road, which is one of the newest in Cherry Willingham. It was being built while I lived out here, and that will take us back to Rugard Avenue and to the parade where we began about an hour and a half ago. Just before we leave this area behind, there's some brand new things I want to make a mention of, both of which are to the south of Fiskerton Road between it and the River Witham. First of all, Cherry Fields. In 2016, the parish council purchased some fields on behalf of the village residents to give them access to green open space. These fields now include a BMX bike track with jumps and a revamped walkway to the Witham's riverbank, which is wheelchair friendly. There's also a woodland walk path too, which runs amongst some 8,000 brand new trees and shrubs. Dogs are catered for too, thanks to a fully fenced dog exercise area. There's also the Oasis, which is aimed at helping marginalised teenagers through horticultural gardening. Soon, Cherry will also have a marina. Currently under construction, Willingham Fen Marina will include another area of brand new housing. An ambitious project. When it's complete, it could resemble the development we encountered at Burton Waters some time ago. The last part of the walk takes us back to the parade via Lady Mere's Road, a mostly unremarkable new housing estate. That said, part of this estate backs onto the churchyard, where some interesting Iron Age remains have been found in the past. In Anglo-Saxon times, there were a series of long, narrow medieval fish ponds where this estate now sits. One of them still exists. Known as Gilbert's Pond, this is early medieval and was gravity-fed from the spring line. This pond once served Cherry's manor house. Now popular with ducks, this was named after Gilbert de Ghent. He was a local landowner, named in the Domesday Book in 1086. The rest of Lady Mere's Road is more modern housing, a mixture of houses and bungalows all the way back to the top of the hill. This area used to be a massive dairy farm at one time. Only one cottage from those days now remains, close to the church. It's fair to say Cherry was heavily reliant on agriculture centuries ago, but now the game has most definitely changed. And here we are back to the parade. There's one more place to go here in Cherry Willingham, and that is of course Hawthorne. So let's hop into the car and head up there and see what that's all about to finish off. Lastly, we're taking a drive through Hawthorne, a small hamlet between the main village and the Lincoln Eastern Bypass. Before the bypass existed, this was connected to Hawthorne Road at Greetwell Fields, which we met last week. Hawthorne Road is ancient. It was important for monks centuries ago because it was the shortest route from Lincoln to Barlings Abbey. Back then it followed a fairly straight line through Reetham to Barlings before crossing a causeway to the Abbey, which stood on an island in the marshland. Hawthorne itself has very little recorded history. How or why it came to exist where it is, surrounded by open fields on all sides, is something of a local mystery. But one thing's for sure, it's growing. Hawthorne has, in the past few years, seen houses added to its southern edge. This hasn't pleased everyone. Lots of local objections have been lodged, mainly citing the tight, narrow streets as already being dangerous. The fear is that more traffic will make them even more so. Anyway, that's it for Cherry Willingham, and West Lindsey has one parish left. It's a special one for me. Fiskerton will not only be the last video in the series, but the last normal parish video on the channel this year. Get ready for an hour-long finale to the series coming your way on December the 23rd. I'll see you there, folks. It's going to be epic. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.